Have you ever returned home after living abroad and realized you just do not fit the same way anymore? Not because the place changed, but because you did? That is the strange, quietly powerful thing that happens when you live in Singapore long enough. It is not a loud transformation. Nobody sits you down and says, "Here are the rules." It just happens. One day you are a tourist amazed by the spotless streets and the impossibly efficient trains. Then slowly, without even noticing, you start absorbing things. You start moving differently, thinking differently, eating differently. I lived in Singapore for over 2 years, and when I came back home, my family looked at me like I had joined some kind of secret society. And in a way, maybe I had. Today, I am going to walk you through 10 genuinely weird habits I picked up in Singapore. Habits I did not choose on purpose. Habits that just stuck to me like humidity in the middle of July. Some will make you laugh, some will make you want to book a flight. Let us get into it. Point 1. Queuing for everything, without question. Before Singapore, I was the kind of person who would groan at a long line and immediately look for a shortcut. Not anymore. In Singapore, the queue is sacred. People line up for chicken rice at 6 in the morning. They queue for bubble tea in the blazing afternoon heat. They stand in perfectly straight, single-file lines for the MRT, the bus, even the elevator. And nobody pushes, nobody cuts, nobody sighs dramatically and storms off. There is this silent, collective understanding that the line is fair, and fair is everything. After a few months of living there, I started doing it automatically. Back home, when someone tried to cut in front of me at a checkout counter, I did not get angry. I just quietly stepped forward and held my position. My friend asked me what had gotten into me. I told her, Singapore. Because once you have lived somewhere that treats queuing as a form of respect, the chaos of random pushing starts to feel genuinely rude. I now queue patiently for everything. Petrol stations, bank tellers, coffee shops. I am that person, and I am completely at peace with it. Point 2. Never wasting food. Singapore has this beautiful, complicated food culture where hawker centers are basically temples and every meal carries the weight of someone's entire life work. The uncle who has been making the same bowl of laksa for 30 years. The auntie who wakes up at 4 in the morning to prepare her char kway teow. When you understand that food in Singapore is not just fuel, but legacy, you stop being careless with it. I used to leave half a plate behind without thinking. I would order too much just because I was indecisive. Not anymore. In Singapore, finishing your food is a quiet form of respect. Wasting it feels almost offensive. I brought this home with me in a big way. I now portion food carefully. I save leftovers with military precision. I plan meals for the week. My fridge went from a chaos of forgotten containers to an organized, intentional system. My family noticed immediately. My mother said it was the most useful thing that ever happened to me. She is not wrong. Food, I learned, is not something you take lightly when you have seen people dedicate their entire existence to perfecting a single dish. Point 3. Obsessive cleanliness in public spaces. Singapore is famously clean, and I do not mean that as a cliché. I mean it in the most literal, almost surreal sense. The streets look like they are mopped daily. The public toilets smell like a hotel bathroom. There is basically no litter anywhere. And if you drop something accidentally, you feel a rush of panic like you just committed a crime. That feeling never fully left me. Back home, I became the person in the group who picks up trash even when it is not mine. I started carrying a small bag for my own waste during outdoor events. I stopped putting my feet on public seats. I became quietly horrified when people threw rubbish from car windows. My friends started calling me the cleanliness police, which I took as a compliment. The thing is, once you have lived somewhere that collectively agrees that public spaces belong to everyone, and therefore everyone is responsible for them, it changes your baseline. You stop waiting for someone else to clean up. You just do it. It is not even effort anymore. It is reflex. Singapore made public cleanliness feel like a personal value, not a government rule, and that distinction matters enormously. Point 4. Eating alone and loving it. In many cultures, eating alone in public is seen as sad. You get those pitying looks. People assume you have no friends, no plans, no life. In Singapore, eating alone is completely normal, even respected. Hawker centers are full of solo diners who are 100% focused on their food. No phone propped up for appearances, no awkward fidgeting. Just a person and their meal, fully present. I absorbed this deeply. I used to be embarrassed eating alone in restaurants back home. I would avoid it, or I would scroll my phone the entire time just to look busy. Singapore cured that. Now I actively enjoy solo meals. I choose the restaurant I want. I order exactly what I feel like. I sit and eat slowly and think and just exist without needing to perform sociability. It is genuinely one of the most peaceful habits I brought home. My colleagues think it is strange that I sometimes choose to eat lunch alone rather than join the group. But the truth is, that solo meal is often the most nourishing part of my entire day, not just physically, but mentally. Singapore taught me that dining alone is not loneliness. It is a quiet, personal luxury. Point 5. Being obsessed with air conditioning. Singapore sits just 1 degree north of the equator. The heat is not a season there. It is a permanent condition, a living thing that wraps around you the moment you step outside. So air conditioning in Singapore is not a comfort. It is survival infrastructure. Every mall, every office, every bus, every taxi is cooled to a temperature that feels like the inside of a cloud. You learn to carry a jacket everywhere because stepping indoors without one means freezing within minutes. I came home with this habit fully intact. I now check whether a venue has good air conditioning before agreeing to go. I keep a light layer with me regardless of the weather outside. I sleep with a fan running even in winter because the white noise has become part of my rest. My family finds it hilarious. They say I have become soft. But here is the thing about adapting to extreme climates. Your body recalibrates. My tolerance for heat dropped significantly after 2 years in that humidity. I am not soft. I am just recalibrated. Singapore rewired my relationship with temperature entirely. And honestly, I would not go back to suffering through heat when cool air is available and accessible. Point 6. Using apps for absolutely everything. Singapore is one of the most digitally integrated cities on the planet. There is an app for reserving a table at a hawker stall, an app for paying parking, an app for government services, healthcare appointments, transport, recycling schedules, even community notices. The whole city runs on a layer of quietly efficient digital infrastructure. Living there for 2 years means you get used to never waiting for anything that can be automated. Back home, when I was told I had to physically go somewhere to fill out a form that clearly could be done online, I felt genuine confusion. Not frustration, just deep, sincere bewilderment that this was still how things worked. I became the person in my family and friend group who finds the app for everything. Need to split a bill? Here is the fastest way. Need to track a delivery? Let me show you. Need to book something? Give me 30 seconds. Singapore did not just make me digitally efficient. It made me impatient with systems that waste human time unnecessarily. Time I learned there is the one resource even the most efficient city cannot create more of. So every minute saved by a smart system is a minute genuinely given back to your life. Point 7. Walking extremely fast. If you have ever been to Singapore, you know the pace of movement on the streets, in the malls, on the MRT platforms is noticeably brisk. Not rude, not aggressive, just purposeful. People there walk like they have somewhere to be, because they almost always do. The infrastructure rewards speed. Escalators have a standing lane and a walking lane, and if you stand on the wrong side, you will feel the collective disapproval of everyone behind you. After 2 years of that environment, my walking speed permanently increased. I came home and started unconsciously overtaking everyone on pavements. I get mildly irritated when someone stops abruptly in the middle of a walkway to check their phone. I always keep to one side. I always have a clear destination when I am moving. My friends have to jog slightly to keep pace with me, which they find annoying and I find completely normal. There is something about a city that runs efficiently that makes you internalize efficiency in your own body. My posture changed, my gait changed. I stopped dawdling. Singapore installed a quiet sense of purpose in my physical movement, and it has genuinely made me more productive, not just as a pedestrian, but in everything I do. Point 8. Mixing languages mid-sentence. Singlish is one of the most delightful linguistic phenomena I have ever encountered. It is this beautiful, chaotic, deeply expressive Creole that blends English, Mandarin, Malay, Tamil, and Hokkien into something that is entirely its own. Phrases like can or not, la, le, lor, and sia carry emotional nuances that no single English word can fully capture. After 2 years of immersion, I started using them without thinking. The funny thing is, I am not Singaporean. My first language is not even English. But somehow, Singlish seeped into my casual speech in a way that feels natural rather than performed. When something is obvious, I want to say, of course, la. When something is complicated, like that lore feels more accurate than any full explanation. Back home, people look at me slightly puzzled when these slip out. I have had to consciously filter my speech in formal settings. But among close friends, I still use them, and they have started picking them up too, which feels like the highest compliment. Language is not just communication. It is a reflection of the culture that shaped you. And Singlish, chaotic and warm and effortlessly funny, is one of the best souvenirs I brought home from Singapore. Point 9. Extreme punctuality. Singapore runs on time. The MRT tells you exactly how many minutes until the next train, and that number is accurate. Meetings start when they are supposed to start. Reservations are honored precisely. If you say 6 o'clock, you mean 6 o'clock, not 6:15, not approximately evening. This culture of punctuality is not aggressive or anxious, it is just deeply respectful of everyone's time. After 2 years of living in this rhythm, being late started to feel physically uncomfortable to me. I began arriving 5 to 10 minutes early for everything, not because I was anxious, but because I genuinely did not want to disrespect someone's time. Back home, where a more relaxed attitude toward timing is common, this created some friction. I am the one sending a message to say I am already there, outside, waiting. I am the one who looks mildly alarmed when someone says they are on their way, but have clearly not left yet. My punctuality has become a bit of a running joke, but underneath the jokes, I think people appreciate it, because showing up on time is a quiet statement. Your time matters to me. Singapore made that a reflex, and I think it is one of the most respectful habits the city gave me. Point 10. Genuinely caring about efficiency in everything. This one is harder to explain because it is less about a single behavior and more about a mindset that runs underneath everything else. Singapore is obsessive about efficiency, not in a cold, robotic way, but in a way that genuinely respects human effort and human time. The city is built to reduce friction. Transport, healthcare, housing, business, all of it is designed to work smoothly so that people can focus on actually living their lives rather than fighting systems. Living inside that for 2 years rewired how I think. I started asking, when faced with any task, what is the most direct path to the best outcome? Not the fastest at any cost, but the most intelligently designed path. I started noticing inefficiencies that I used to accept as inevitable. I started optimizing not from anxiety, but from genuine care for the quality of my own time and energy. Back home, this sometimes makes me seem impatient or overly particular. But it is not impatience. It is a deep, Singapore-installed belief that a well-designed process is an act of respect toward the people using it. That idea changed how I work, how I organize my home, how I plan my days. Efficiency, Singapore taught me, is not laziness. It is intelligence. So there you have it. 10 habits I did not plan to adopt, did not pack into my suitcase, and absolutely did not leave behind when I came home. The funny thing about living somewhere long enough is that it does not just become a place you visited. It becomes a part of how you see the world, a lens you carry with you everywhere you go. Singapore gave me more than memories of incredible food and stunning skylines. It gave me a set of values disguised as daily habits: patience in queues, respect for time, care for shared spaces, comfort with solitude, efficiency as a form of kindness. I am a different person for having lived there, and I genuinely mean that as the highest compliment a city can receive. If you have ever lived somewhere that changed you in quiet, persistent ways, you already understand exactly what I am talking about. And if you have not, well, maybe Singapore should be your next destination. Not just to visit, but to stay long enough for it to change you too. Because the best souvenirs are never the ones you buy. They are the ones that grow inside you without you even noticing. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who loves to travel. See you in the next one.